Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies, where we explore all things cinema. This I've reviewed before, but I would love to touch on. Again, this is a film that's controversial, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which finally just came out. Vinegar Syndrome, thank you. This was a film that people long awaited to be restored. This was directed by Richard Brooks. It was written by Judith Rosner and Richard Brooks. It starred Diane Keaton, Richard Gere, and Tuesday Weld. Synopsis: dedicated schoolteacher Teresa Dunn spends her nights cruising bars looking for males with whom she can engage in progressively dangerous extreme sexual encounters. I don't know if that's accurate. This is this is a synopsis off IMDb. This, of course, was based on a true story, and from what I read, the woman it's based on was addicted to danger, and whereas they don't make that necessarily clear in this, not that they had to, it suggested that she's at least intrigued or attracted to it. I don't know if she's necessarily looking for dangerous situations as she gets into dangerous situations, but whether or not that's what she's looking for when we talk about looking for Mr. Goodbar is really up to the audience, because people really look at this film as a message film, I think. And I think I have conflicting feelings about that, because what we see at the end is that she gets murdered, and it's brutal. She gets raped and murdered by Tom Berenger's character Gary, who she hooks up with, who she just meets on New Year's and hooks up with, engaging in a one-night stand, which we see happens with other men in the film, and he kills her, and so some people think that it was regressive, and it was criticizing the women's movement, and we even see in the film, years earlier on Christmas Eve, also New Year's Eve, which is also when she gets murdered in the future. She's watching this news bulletin about the women's liberation movement, and one of the things, of course, that they wanted was sexual freedom, right? And so some people think this was regressive because this woman who wants sexual freedom is killed, so it's like a punishment. See, women, you want sexual freedom, this is what's going to happen to you. I don't quite see it that way. I think it's more that if we're looking at it from a message perspective, that it's sort of like, well, why do women have to be so worried about getting killed if they hook up with someone? Why do they have to be concerned with being harassed? And we do see men just she sits at a bar and a guy touches her bum. Why do they have to deal with these potential murders or harassments or assaults? So perhaps the film may be suggesting also that, women should have these things, and the problem is with us, with men, certain men. Hashtag not all men. I love that. Hashtag not all men, which is so defensive. We're not talking about everyone, of course, but there certainly is enough men that give too many women a hard time and make going out dangerous for them, and so what I think I lean more towards that, and also I've read some people felt that it was also homophobic in regards to Gary, the character Gary who Tom Berenger plays, because he's a homosexual man who looks as though he is not out. And he denies that he's gay, and we see this violent fight he gets into earlier, but we also see him kissing a man at a gay bar. That's played by Richard Bright, by the way, character George. He's actually really good in it, and he denies that he's gay, and so one thing that triggers him is that when he's with Teresa, he can't get an erection, and then she says, okay, it gets awkward, and she's like, she tries to get him to leave, and he refuses to leave. Obviously he wants to prove that he's a quote unquote man and can perform, and then she says, what do you have to prove? And that sets him off, and actually he gets an erection from the violence, and it's it's a horrible ending, which is hard to forget. Every time I see it, it's really hard to see. But some people see that as homophobic. I don't necessarily see it as homophobic. I think they were getting at the fact that when people are oppressed by society, then if you tell people that it's wrong to be who they are, they could turn to violence. And so if this man wasn't judged, perhaps, and wasn't criticized, and wasn't sort of discriminated against, then he perhaps wouldn't be this way. With that being said, on the flip side, I guess they were looking for a way to give him a motive to have killed her. So, at the time, this is not long after the Stonewall uprising, and so, gay rights was still fairly new, and so perhaps it's irresponsible to have, made a gay man a killer at that time. I'm not saying that every gay part should be just straight up good people, because we're all flawed, but to have seen at this time a gay man do this is not really helpful. Even though it's I think the way it's done in the film is what is done well, but is interesting, but perhaps it's irresponsible. But that's the way. But apart from, if we're looking at it from a message, I really think it is a complex character study of this woman who's coming of age, who on the one hand is a teacher, a great teacher. She's the girl, she's helping this one young girl, African American, whose family's on welfare and they can't afford a hearing aid for her. And she really, really helps to get her a hearing aid. And this little girl, who's really tries to keep to herself, is in her own shell, loves Teresa, and Teresa really brings her out of her shell. And so she's a great teacher. And then the contrast, of course, at night is that she's she's intrigued by the nightlife and by the danger, and she sees porn for the first time, she smokes weed for the first time, and she's dating men, she's having one night stands. And I remember when I first saw this when I was younger, I was like, oh my God, a school teacher doing that's crazy. It's like, but what's crazy about it? So what if she's a school teacher? It's completely normal for her to have these interests or to have these desires, but like I said, with her relationship with Richard Gere, he's clearly violent, and of course this relationship with him, and he begins to blackmail her, and it gets ugly, and he hits her. It's interesting that she would have a one-night stand right after that. With that being said, earlier she also gets into this complex relationship with this character James, who she meets when she's talking to the little girl Amy's mother. He's a welfare officer, and she has this complex relationship with him. And because she has mixed feelings about him because her father likes him. And so she's rebelling. She's getting with men that she knows her father would hate, because she has this overbearing Catholic father, and so that has a lot to do with her actions, I think, as well. It's up to the audience. Perhaps it's more of rebellion because her father's criticizing the women's movement, saying, they're all burning bras, and so maybe it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sleep with as many men as I want, as a F you to her father. Perhaps you could look at it that way. But if we're leaning into like whether it's a hook that she's addicted to danger, I'm not sure. It's certainly, after you get into a relationship with something like with Tony, where he was blackmailing her and he's violent and he stalks her, and I would imagine someone might think twice about bringing someone home that you don't know again for a one-night stand. But at the same time, she says to James at her apartment, she goes, men, they're all the same. I'm not quoting directly, but she's like, if you don't give them sex right away, they can get pretty rough. So it's possible that because she's meeting all these various men's at bars and stuff, that she just thinks that that's what men's like. They get she's young, right? So she's still in school at the beginning, and it's not clear how many years we go into the future, but it doesn't seem like it's many years, maybe 5, 5 or so. I mean, Diane Keaton, when she did this, was about 30, 31. So, she also has an affair with her teacher at the beginning. So we see that she's in school. So, I think maybe at most she's 25 by the end. So she's still fairly young, right? And so I like that it's ambiguous and open ending. That is this someone addicted to danger or not? Again, it's really up to the audience. But labels aside, messages aside, I think to me this is a complex portrait of a woman and a coming of age story and all that goes with that. And it's not just what was happening then, but it's completely relatable now. And Diane Keaton, oh my God, what a performance. She's probably one of my favorite actors. So charming. The range that she has, because she's quirky, but she's also has a real depth. And she can really hold her own with anyone, and she can get really ferocious and tough when she needs to be. But then, like I said, she could be funny and sweet and sexy and seductive. So there's a great range there. So with that, so there you go. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I want to thank all of my members on Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, head over to the link, patreon.com/RobertBellissimo at the movies for full details. You can also leave a donation, or what I call a tip, by clicking the thanks link, which you will find directly below the video frame. Just click on that and you can leave a donation if you choose to. Of course, I would greatly appreciate that. And lastly, if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing. It is absolutely free to do so. By pressing the Robert Bellissimo at the movie logo, you will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left. In just a second, just click on that. And then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new videos. I would also really appreciate if you leave a comment, share the video, like the video. All of these things create traction onto my YouTube channel and really help share the video far and wide, and the channel in general. So thank you so much for doing that, and I will see you all in the next one.